Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into something darker than usual. Something that gets right under your skin and makes you question the hum of your own refrigerator. If the rain whispers against your window right now, or if the power is humming low, let that be part of the atmosphere. We're talking about a call-out that changed everything for a service tech who thought he'd seen it all. 20 years of crawling through the guts of buildings. But nothing prepared him for what happened inside the Viridian Tower in Ohio. You know, if you hear knocking behind you tonight, or maybe a faint grinding sound from the pipes, just ignore it. It's probably just the maintenance crew from the basement, right? So before you settle in, take a second to like the video and subscribe. But only if you're brave enough to handle what's coming. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now turn off the lights. Maybe keep one candle burning. And let's begin tonight's haunting together. You never think about elevators until they stop working. It's a mechanical miracle, a necessary evil, moving thousands of people every hour. And you, as the technician, are the only one who sees the gears turn. You know the routine. Middle of the night, your radio squawks, and you're driving toward a building where something has gone wrong. Tonight, it's the Viridian Tower. Vague report. Elevator stuck. Doors cycling on their own. Sounds like a classic case of gummed up tracks or a sticky relay. You load your kit into the truck, pulling onto the interstate, past the exit for places with local legends. You know, the kind of town where whispers linger about things that shouldn't be real. Maybe an old tragedy. Disappearances that researchers still argue whether it was real or just folklore. You try to push it out of your mind. Your job is wires and steel, not ghosts. The Viridian Tower is easy to spot. 14 stories of brick and grime. Its sign, once a proud neon spectacle, is now half dead, flickering, VERIDIANOWER, into the humid Ohio night. The Viridian part is alive, buzzing with a nasty crackle, spitting sparks. You step inside, and the air is immediately heavy. It smells like mildew and cigarettes. The single chandelier in the lobby looks exhausted, one bulb weakly fighting to stay lit. At the front desk sits a man who looks as old as the building. His hair is a thin, greasy comb-over plastered across his scalp, and the glasses he wears are so thick they make his eyes look unnaturally large, swimming behind the glass. He blinks at you, a slow, long drawn-out gesture, like you've interrupted a deep 50-year nap. Mayes, he drawls. You set your toolbox down, the sound muffled by the ancient, sinking carpet. You tell him you're there for the repair. He doesn't speak, just lifts a shaky finger and points. You follow the direction down a long, dim hallway, and there, at the far end, is the elevator. The doors are dented steel, tarnished and old, standing like a scarred guardian. The hallway stretches longer than it first appeared, your boots sinking into the soft, mildew-scented carpet. The sconces along the walls flicker, casting shadows that lean the wrong way, stretching out and away from the light, almost unnaturally. You walk, the weight of your toolbox a familiar comfort. As you approach, the mechanical hum grows louder. It's a steady, mechanical thrum, but threaded through, it is a faint series of pops and clicks. It sounds like something is chewing. You remember reading once about the cocktail party effect, how the brain filters noise, but sometimes a specific, unsettling sound, like a gentle chewing, can cut through everything and snag your attention. This hum isn't just noise, it's a warning. You stand before the elevator, and up close, the details are worse. The steel doors are freckled with rust, and the seams are black with accumulated grease. The call button plate is brass, worn smooth at the center, but green with corrosion at the edges. The UP arrow button pulses with a weak, sickly light. You set your heavy toolbox down, a hollow thunk on the floor. You press the call button. The click is sluggish, delayed, like the mechanism is resisting your touch, begrudgingly acknowledging the command. Deep above, the motor coughs. The cables housed within the shaft let out a faint, mournful song. The doors shudder open just 3 inches, then slam shut again, before finally groaning wide with a shudder that rattles the entire frame. You inspect the car. Inside, the cab looks abandoned. The wood paneling is cracked and peeling, the carpet curling at the corners. 2 fluorescent tubes in the ceiling buzz, like a trapped swarm of hornets. A fan grill, caked thick with gray, indistinguishable dust or fur, wheezes heavily. You don't step in yet. The first rule of this job: make the car talk to you before you climb in. You crouch down, running your flashlight beam along the sill. The track is packed solid with grit and old chewing gum, and the rollers have flat spots worn right into their surface. This, you note, is what caused the stutter and the groaning. You press the door close button with your knuckle. The panels drag, cough out a cloud of dust, but they seal shut. You press door open. Same sluggish, reluctant stutter. You stand, listening closely. The motor is humming a low, resonant note through the wall, accompanied by the faintest squeal of brake pads. It sounds tired. You key open the service panel. A puff of fine dust explodes outward, carrying the sharp, sour smell of very old wiring. Inside, you see cloth-wrapped harnesses, their insulation brittle and cracking, contactors spotted with corrosion. No popped fuses, no scorch marks, just age and fatigue. You lock the panel back up. All right, you mutter to yourself, adjusting your grip on your flashlight. Let's see how you run. You step into the cab. The doors slam shut instantly. You didn't touch a thing. The force of the close jolts the car hard enough to knock your teeth together. The indicator needle above the doors twitches violently, hesitates for a suspended moment, and then begins to climb. You didn't press a button. The motor lets out a mechanical wail and begins dragging the car upward. A cold rush of adrenaline hits you. At least it works. A thought flickers across your mind, and you realize, with a chilling dread, the thought didn't feel entirely like your own. There's a legend about phantom rides, elevators that operate themselves, stopping at specific, predetermined floors, often associated with a repeating, traumatic event in the building's history. You wonder, could that be it? Could this be a repeating memory? This thought feels less like a legend and more like a terrifying hypothesis. The fact is, the car is climbing and you are not in control. The car shudders to a stop. The brake catches, but it's too soft, almost tentative, as if the mechanism is unsure of its own ability to hold the load. The doors creak open. The doors creak open, and the atmosphere shifts immediately, floating lazily into the cab or balloons. They drift in, their strings lightly brushing your arm, light pinks and faded blues. Beyond the open doors, a hotel conference room stretches wide. It's a sad, static scene. Streamers droop from thumbtacks. The paper faded and torn. A folding table in the center sags under the weight of a thick sheet cake. The frosting has a terrible, synthetic shine under the flickering overhead light. The words "Happy Birthday, Tommy" are written in blue, but the color has bled into the white frosting, weeping. A circle of children is sitting patiently in mismatched metal folding chairs. They wear paper hats that are tilted precariously, their dresses and shirts rumpled and old. They are silent. One girl tilts her head, her face pale and unnervingly still. "Sit," she commands. The word is not sharp, but it carries an absolute, immediate authority. Your knees bend on their own. You feel a crushing compulsion that overrides your will. You sink down, and the metal chair groans loudly under your weight. A boy with a scattering of dark freckles stands up and cuts into the cake. The knife squeaks, a high, unpleasant sound as it drags through the hardened frosting. He serves you a slice on a flimsy paper plate. You don't move to touch it, but they do. At first, their bites are small, almost precise, neat little gestures. Then they get bigger, louder. Cake and frosting are aggressively stuffed into mouths that seem to open too wide. A wet, awful chewing sound fills the air, drowning out the silence. Underneath, the chewing, thin, sweet giggles bubble up. They are light, but completely wrong. You try to remember the training, the logic, the reality. You know about sleep paralysis, where the brain mixes reality with a nightmare state. But this is shared, witnessed, solid. One boy shoves both hands directly into his slice of cake and crams the whole handful into his mouth. His knuckles scrape his teeth. His gums peel back. Too far. You see a horrifying extra row of teeth, pale and sharp, crowding against the first set. Another girl bends her head low over her plate. She licks the icing directly off the paper. Her tongue is long, unnaturally pink, and you see clearly it is forked at the tip. The sweet giggles twist into manic cackling. Frosting sprays. Their eyes roll up in their heads. Their faces stretch, cheeks ballooning. The smooth, young features slipping into something grotesque and monstrous. Every single head snaps toward you at once. This is not a glitch. This isn't bad wiring. This is something else. You bolt from the chair. Your toolbox smacks hard against your leg as you stagger back into the cab. You slam the close button with your hand once, twice, 3 times, until the doors finally, grudgingly, obey. Your last glimpse through the narrowing gap is of the cake itself. It's sagging, bubbling, and you think you see it pulsing. The doors seal. The cab jolts upward. The cab jerks upward violently, slamming you against the wall. Your toolbox, thankfully inside, bangs against the rail with a hollow, frantic clang. You clutch the rail, sucking in ragged breaths. Sweat is already running down your temples, even though the air inside the cab is now cool. A relief after the oppressive heat of the conference room. What the hell is going on? You whisper, your voice thin and reedy. You've pulled people out of some awful situations in your career. Drunks passed out. A guy using the cab to shoot up. Even a dead body once, sitting upright like a sleeping passenger, but a whole room of children, waiting for you like a perverse, forgotten invitation. Eating cake until their jaws threatened to crack and their faces shed their humanity. That's a different category entirely. That wasn't corrosion or a sticky relay. That was wrong. You shake your head hard, trying to physically rattle the grotesque images out. Elevators don't open onto a scene of pure, stagnant rot. Was that a forgotten party, a residual haunting, where a traumatic event plays on a loop? A phenomenon, some attribute to stone retaining psychic energy? You look at the control panel. It's dead. Every button is dark, lifeless. Your reflection in the tarnished metal plate of the panel looks back at you, washed out. Your eyes too wide, too frantic. The motor above the cab groans steadily. The car is still climbing, relentlessly, like it has a specific, unavoidable destination, programmed into its core. You mutter to yourself, the words shaking out. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Just figure it out. Find the problem. Fix it. That's the job. But a deep, cold certainty settles in your gut. A wrench isn't going to fix this. A breaker reset is useless. This is beyond your skill set, beyond the realm of ohms, law, and simple mechanics. The indicator needle trembles. It skips past several floor numbers, a blur of motion, and then freezes abruptly. The brake screams, a nasty, greasy squeal. The doors shudder, and they open. The furnace floor. Heat slams into you like a physical wall. It steals the breath right from your lungs before you can even register the shock. The heat rolls into the cab in waves, thick and oppressive, carrying the metallic stink of scorched metal mixed with something wetter, heavier. It's the smell of a butcher's shop fire, the scent of burning organic material. You've read about spontaneous human combustion, a strange, eerie fact. But this is intentional. The floor outside isn't carpet. It's an industrial cavern. Steel beams tower above, streaks of deep rust running down their sides. The concrete floor is gleam black, slick with something you don't want to identify. Lining the walls are massive furnaces, square-mouthed things, easily big enough to swallow a car hole. Their doors hang open, spewing fire so intensely bright it physically hurts your eyes to look directly at it. Conveyor belts clank and screech, moving relentlessly toward those open fires. And on those belts are shapes, human shapes, piled carelessly like discarded trash. The belts drag them forward, jerking and squealing, until they tip over the threshold and into the flames. The screams are the worst, not a unified shriek, but a chorus of separate, panicked, cut-short cries. Pleading, gasping, shrieking one after another, the sound echoing unnervingly in the massive chamber. Figures are working the belts. They are tall, crooked things, their arms too long, their bodies perpetually stooped. You can see sparks dragging from their hands as they walk across the metallic floor. They bend down, picking up the slack bodies when the belts jam, tossing them into the roaring fire like broken mannequins. Completely indifferent to the terror, you are paralyzed. The heat is blistering your exposed skin, and yet you can't move a muscle. Then, one of the figures stops. Slowly, agonizingly, its head turns toward the cab. It drops the body it was holding. The thud of the slack weight echoes loudly across the entire chamber. It starts walking. Another one stops, turns, begins moving toward you too. The furnace immediately behind them roars, louder than before. A flash of flame leaping out like a hungry tongue reaching for the cab. That breaks the spell. You stagger back, your toolbox clanging hard against your knee. Your hand hammers the close button again and again, the plastic soft and meaningless under your palm. One of the things reaches the threshold. A long, unnaturally thin arm curls around the door frame. The doors shudder. They groan in protest. They begin to push against the arm, trying to overcome its strength. The thing leans in, its dark, stooped form obscuring the firelight, then a sharp, mechanical break. The arm folds abruptly, yanked back, and the doors slam shut with crushing force. The entire cab rattles violently, as if something outside has struck it with massive, silent force. The motor screams in response, immediately dragging you upward again. The cab is rattling, shivering, as though it's about to tear loose from its cables and plummet. You press your forehead against the cool wood paneling, breathing raggedly. The metallic stink of scorched steel and burned flesh still clings to your nose, a phantom smell that won't dissipate. "I gotta get out," you mutter, your own voice cracking, high and raw. Then louder, hammering the rail with your fist. "I gotta get out of here." You spin on the control panel, jabbing every single button. Lobby, close, open, the numbered floors, anything. Nothing lights up. Nothing answers. Your thumb jams the emergency stop button so hard you feel the plastic dent beneath the force. It's dead. But the motor above still groans, still drags you higher anyway. You yank open the service panel again with shaking hands, half crazed. Dust puffs out, Wires twist in brittle bundles. You grab a breaker switch and slam it down. Sparks spit, but the terrible, internal hum of the machine keeps going. "Come on," you whisper, flipping another switch, and another. The car doesn't even hesitate. It's as if you're flicking lights on a model while the real machine operates beneath you. You think about the escape hatch, hauling yourself onto the roof. But if it shifts while you're up there, the fall, the cables, the sheer mechanical violence of it. No, that's a guaranteed death wish. You grip the rail again, sweat slicking your palm. Every nerve is screaming for action. But there's literally nothing to do. The cab is no longer yours. You are merely a passenger. You are trapped, a fascinating study in psychological stress, like the subjects of the Milgram experiments, who felt powerless against the system. "I have to get out," you whisper again. Your throat feels raw, like you've been breathing the fire from the floor below. The indicator needle trembles. It stutters, a nervous, hiccuping motion, and then freezes. The brake screeches. The doors begin to open. The next floor offers a cruel twist of hope. For the first time since this nightmare began, you see something that looks almost entirely normal. An exit sign glows just across the hall. It's buzzing faintly, a familiar, mundane sound. Below it, there's a plain gray metal door with a crash bar. The little running man's stencil points clearly down, toward safety, toward the street. Relief surges through you, so sharp it's almost painful. "Thank God," you mutter, stumbling out, your toolbox swinging heavily at your side. Your legs are weak, threatening to buckle, but you force yourself to move. You reach the door. The crash bar clicks easily under your sweaty palm, and the door groans open with a heavy, metallic sound. You expect the cold, sharp echo of concrete steps, the dusty smell of a service stairwell. Instead, there is nothing. Blackness stretches beyond the doorframe. This isn't the familiar dark of an unlit stairwell or a room with the power out. This is thicker. It feels hungry. The light from the hallway stops flat against it, like it's hitting a solid wall of nothingness. You lean closer, your heart hammering against your ribs. And then you see them. Eyes, tiny, burning red points. Thousands of them. They are pinpricks scattered deep into the blackness, so far away they could be mistaken for a malignant red constellation. But they aren't stars. They blink, all at once, and then they start moving. The red pinpricks draw closer. Pairs of them begin to line up, some rising higher than your head, others lowering close to the floor, weaving through each other like predators, moving in a massive, silent pack. The sound comes next, a low, rolling scrape, like sharp claws dragging across rough stone. Then the breathing, wet, uneven, dozens of lungs sucking air simultaneously. A wet, horrifying sound that seems to press against the dark. Your whole body locks up. Your hand is frozen on the crash bar. This sudden, overwhelming surge of eyes, a form of ometophobia materialized into reality, breaks you. You yank your hand back, slam the door shut, and bolt. Your toolbox bangs against your thigh as you sprint for the elevator. You are running for your life. The cab doors are still open, waiting. You dive inside, hammering the close button with both fists. The last thing you see through the rapidly narrowing gap is the stairwell door bulging outward. It rattles violently on its hinges. The glow of red eyes is pressing against the crack, as though the darkness itself is a viscous liquid trying to pour in. The doors seal. The cab jolts violently. The motor screams. Upward again. The cab rattles, shivering as if it's about to be torn apart by the stress on the cables. Your lungs feel like they've shrunk to half their size. Every breath a short, ragged gasp. You clutch the rail, forehead pressed to the cool, cracked wood paneling. Your entire body is trembling uncontrollably. I can't do this, you whisper, the words cracking high in your throat. I gotta get out. I have to get out. The buttons on the panel stare back at you, completely lifeless. You slam your fist against them once, twice, a primal gesture of frustration, until your knuckles burn from the impact. Nothing lights up. Nothing answers. You yank at the service panel again, desperate, half-crazed. You jiggle the breakers, flip switches with manic speed. Sparks snap, biting your fingers, but the motor above only growls louder. A deep, mechanical chuckle. The indicator needle is jittering, skipping entire floor numbers as the car hurtles upward. The fan in the ceiling, thick with gray fur, wheezes, then gives a single, violent hiccup, coughing a cloud of dust right into your face, and then the ringing starts. At first, it's faint, a single, high metallic trill, then another, and another, until it's no longer faint at all. The sound of ringing telephones fills the air, leaking through the cracks of the doors, so loud it sets your teeth on edge. The cab shudders to a stop. The doors creak open. The ringing, which started faintly, swells into an absolute roar. By the time the cab doors are fully open, the sound is all you can hear. The hallway stretches forward, seemingly forever, and both walls are lined with rotary phones. Their cords are stiff with age, frozen in unnatural positions. Every 4 feet, another phone, and every single receiver is trembling on its cradle as the bell rings hysterically. You step out, your toolbox dangling forgotten in your hand, your ears buzzing from the sheer sound pressure. The closest phone rings sharp and shrill, louder than the rest, demanding attention. Against every instinct that screams, "Don't touch it," you lift the receiver. What you hear isn't a voice. It's dogs, a pack of them, snarling, barking. The sound of their claws skittering frantically against hardwood floors. The sound hits you in the gut. It's vivid and utterly wrong. You can smell the hot, frantic breath. You can feel the sudden, specific panic of being 10 years old again, trapped in a neighbor's yard. The hot breath snapping at your skin. It's a cruel trick of auditory hallucination layered over reality. A phenomenon where the mind creates sound to fill silence. But in this case, it's using noise to dredge up pure trauma, you realize this floor is digging for your buried fears. Not real, you mutter, slamming the receiver back down. The next one rings, even louder. Your hand moves before your conscious mind can stop it. You lift the second receiver. This time it's voices. Their whispering, layered, like 100 conversations, are happening simultaneously, all condensed into the small plastic receiver. You catch fragments, tumbling over each other, going up, don't step out, 13th, watch the doors. It's elevator jargon, but corrupted, twisted into a threat. You drop the phone. It swings wildly on its stiff cord, smacking uselessly against the wall. Another phone begins to ring immediately. This one sounds steady, almost reassuring in its persistent tone. You snatch it up, a desperate, irrational hope that it might be a lifeline. Police department, a man's voice says, calm and official. Relief floods your system, so intense it makes your eyes sting. Oh, thank God. Listen, I'm at the Viridian Tower. The elevator's gone crazy. I don't know what floor I'm on, you blurt out, adrenaline overriding coherence. Calm down, sir, the officer says, his voice a steady anchor. We'll send someone right away. Just need your information first. Anything, yeah, anything, you promise. Date of birth, he asks. March 9th, 1984, you say without thinking, a reflex. Silence. Then the man chuckles. 1984, huh? Very funny. His voice drops lower, amused, but unnervingly off. 20 years went by just like that. You frown, your throat suddenly tight, the relief curdling into dread. What are you? You begin. But the line clicks. Dead air hisses back at you. You pull the phone from your ear. The cord is cracked, stiff. Dust coats the mouthpiece. It looks like it hasn't been touched in decades. You realize this is a memory echo, a playback of a non-existent conversation, much like the folklore surrounding the black-eyed children, where reality warps and people are lured into a false sense of security. The receiver slips from your numb fingers. You don't even bother to hang it up. Another phone rings, closer this time. You freeze. The compulsion to answer is absolute. The voice that speaks when you lift the receiver is one you recognize too well. Hey, your stomach drops away. It's him, the bully, the kid who made your grade school life a living hell, the one who shoved you out a second-floor window just to watch you break your leg and grin at your pain, the one who died years later in a horrific car crash. You saw it, didn't you? His voice slithers through the receiver, slick with malice. The furnace, that's where you'll end up. Your grip on the phone goes slick with sweat. You're not leaving. You'll stay here, with me, forever. His chuckle is a wet, sickening sound that crawls directly into your ear. I'm coming to visit. You yank the receiver away and nearly throw it across the hall. It swings wildly on its cord, banging against the plaster. Every phone in the hall immediately starts ringing louder. The sound builds into a teeth-rattling roar. Bells slam against metal. Cords twitch like agitated snakes. You think about the elevator. going back in, surrendering to the mechanical ascent. But a treacherous thought worms its way in. Maybe I don't have to. The telephones are unbearable, yes, but at least there aren't literal flames. At least there aren't faceless, elongated things. If you stay here, maybe you can find another way out. The phone directly in front of you convulses violently. The plastic casing cracks down the middle with a sharp snap. The rotary dial warps, stretching outward like dough. With a sickening, tearing lurch, the entire unit rips free of the wall. It hits the floor with a heavy, sickening thud. And then it grows. The metal warps and thickens. The stiff cords swell into veiny, muscular cables. The receiver splits in half, jaw-like, opening wide to reveal rows of jagged, mismatched teeth where the mouthpiece should be. In seconds, this phone is looming taller than you are, a grotesque, giant rotary phone. It's open, receiver jaw is dripping a strange spittle, and it clacks its teeth together with bone-shaking force. Chomp. The sound rings out through the hallway. Sparks fly from its massive jaws. The thing lurches forward on its tangled, cable-like legs. The receiver jaws open wider, impossibly wide. Chomp. The air quakes with the force of each bite. You scream. You stagger backward, your toolbox clattering uselessly to the floor. Your eyes dart frantically up and down the endless hall, searching for a fire door, a vent, a closet, anything. But there is nothing, just more phones, all of them ringing, their cords writhing now like thick, metallic worms. The massive jaw lunges. Teeth slam shut inches from your head, snapping the air with terrifying force. You bolt. Your boots pound the carpet. Your forgotten toolbox bangs against your leg. The elevator cab still waits, doors open. It is impossibly patient, like it knew this moment was inevitable, that you would come running back. You dive inside. You hammer the close button again and again, until your hand feels numb and bruised. The giant telephone slams against the doors just as they seal shut. The chomp reverberates through the cab, a final, shaking roar. Then, blessed silence, the car trembles. The motor above screams, and it begins to rise, taking you with it. The fear of the static of the past is now replaced by the terror of motion. You realize this machine doesn't care about floors. It cares about destinations. The cab rattles, groaning with a mechanical protest, as if the cables above are grinding through solid bone. Your stomach swoops violently. Your knees go weak with the sudden, uncontrolled vertical motion. And then, slam. The brake catches with a sound like tearing, twisted metal. The doors shudder. They creak open. Cold air pours in. Not the stale, recycled chill of air conditioning. This is raw, a brutal winter bite that sinks deep into your skin and scrapes your lungs with every breath you draw. You flinch back, expecting another abattoir or a monster. But what you see makes you lean forward again. It can't be real. Snow, it drifts down from the ceiling, which is impossibly high and gray. Flakes spiral lazily in the weak, yellow glow of the cab light before vanishing into the endless white expanse beyond the threshold. The floor stretches into an open, barren wasteland of deep snow, rolling and uneven. There are no walls, no corners, no end, just white ground under a high gray ceiling that looks like a perpetual, suffocating winter sky. Your breath plumes out, hot vapor curling in front of your face before fading into the cold haze. You step out. Your boots sink into the powder with a satisfying, familiar crunch. Behind you, the elevator hums softly, its doors remaining wide open, practically daring you to come crawling back. You turn once, looking back. Your footprints are already blurring, half filled by the relentlessly falling flakes. The snow wants to erase you, to smooth the surface and make your presence here impossible. An impossible breeze tugs at your sleeves. It's cold and damp, and it carries scents you haven't smelled in decades. Wet iron, the sharp tang of sweat, and the sour, unmistakable smell of pure, helpless fear. And then come out. It's him. Your chest seizes painfully. Your heart thuds so hard you feel the pulse drumming behind your teeth. It's the bully, not just any past aggressor, but the kid. The one who turned your childhood into a gauntlet, a constant, terrifying performance. The one who cornered you behind the dumpsters, shoved your face in the dirt, and laughed when you cried. The one who once pushed you from the window just to hear your leg snap. You know he is dead. You remember the memorial flowers tied to a telephone pole, a small, sad roadside shrine. But his voice is alive here. It's cruel and playful, the exact tone he used when he knew you were hiding, and he was circling closer. You drop low into the snow, pressing your body against a snow drift that offers no real concealment. Your breath fogs the air immediately. You try to force it shallow, slow, but even then, each inhale rasps loud enough to give away your position. Crunch, footsteps. He emerges from the swirling haze. He's taller now, older, his shoulders broader, his face harder, but he is utterly unmistakable. The grin is exactly the same, a twisted, predatory smirk. An axe is swinging loosely in his hand. The blade is dulled and notched, but it's heavy enough to split a person in two with a single, brutal swing. He trudges across the snow with the slow, deliberate rhythm of someone who is completely confident in his victory. He starts to whistle. You hate that song. It's the same damned, off-key whistle he used when he stalked you after school, when you were small enough to fit inside a locker and foolish enough to think a teacher's car could hide you. The sound slithers through the snowfall, patient and chilling. You clench your jaw until the pain shoots into your ears. You realize this is the essence of pure traumatic memory, when the brain replays the terrifying event, mixing the sights and sounds of the past with the physical manifestation of the present. This isn't just a vision, this is a reckoning. You feel the cold of the snow, the breath in your lungs, the terror of that childhood day, all at once. He drags the axe behind him, the blade carving a dark, deliberate line through the untouched snow. His heavy boots sink deep, leaving craters that slowly fill back in with flakes. He pauses, tilting his head slightly, listening intently. "Where are you?" he calls out softly, almost lovingly. You freeze completely, so still that your joints scream in protest. You begin to crawl forward. Each movement is agonizingly deliberate. Your eyes desperately sweep the white emptiness. There has to be a way out, but there are no doors, no walls, no exit signs or stairwells. Just the endless, suffocating white and the bully stalking it with his axe and his song. Then you see it, half buried under a drift, about 30 feet ahead. A square iron hatch, it's rusted and warped, set flush into the ground. A bent, dark handle juts from the metal. You creep faster, the crunch of your boots sounding deafening in your ears. Your breath is ragged, coming in desperate pants. Got you. Your blood runs cold. You whip your head around. He is closer than you could have possibly imagined. The axe is already rising, snow spraying off the dull blade as he pulls it back for a killing swing. You lunge, slipping on the deep powder, clawing frantically at the iron hatch handle. Your glove sticks momentarily to the frozen metal. The hatch shrieks open, rust screaming against rust. A sound of pure mechanical agony. You dive headfirst into the dark abyss just as the axe comes down. Metal clangs violently. Sparks spit across the snow as the blade bites the rim of the hatch instead of your skull. Then you are gone. The chute swallows you whole. You are sliding fast, a terrifying, uncontrolled drop. Your shoulders slam against the dented steel walls. Sparks flare in the darkness where your toolbox scrapes ahead of you. The walls are slick with something unidentifiable grease, frost. You can't tell. Your arms are pinwheeling helplessly, useless against the velocity. The chute twists violently, sharp turns, impossible angles, as though the tunnel is folding in on itself, defying all architectural logic. Your stomach lurches. Your throat locks in a silent, desperate scream. The snow you carried in clings to your clothes, melting into icy, chilling trails down your back. Your breath is whipped past you, sucked away into the absolute dark below. You seem to fall for an impossible amount of time, a timeless descent into what must be the basement of memory. Then whump, you hit something soft. You sink into mountains of fabric, yellowed sheets, scratchy wool blankets. Uniforms so old their stitched patches have peeled away entirely. You scramble to your knees, gagging, choking on the sudden stop and the smell. Dust erupts around you in choking gray clouds. Your flashlight is shaking violently in your trembling hand, the beam slicing through the haze like a confused sword. You are in the linen basement. It stretches wide and low. Ceiling pipes drip rust-colored water onto the mountains of cloth. Every inch of space is filled with sagging, unstable piles of linen, leaning against each other like exhausted, silent sentinels. You spin in a circle, the light beam cutting across deep, heavy shadows. Your heart is a frantic jackhammer. You expect a faceless laundry worker to lunge out, or a pair of those chilling red eyes to blink open in the fabric folds, but there is nothing. No movement. No sound but the slow, subtle settling of the cloth and the loud, rasping sound of your own panicked breathing. The quiet is worse than any sound. You force yourself upright. Your boots crunch through the fabric. It should be soft, but it breaks like dry paper. Each step sinks, leaving prints that immediately fill back in as the piles slump inward. Like the snow, the linen wants to erase you. It wants to bury you alive in forgetfulness. You push forward, your toolbox bumping your thigh, your eyes darting, desperately searching for any escape. And then you see it. A door, half buried under a collapsed heap of old blankets. Its outline is just visible in the gloom. You claw your way through the mound, sending dust spiraling into the air. Your hand finds the knob. It is tarnished brass, cold, but solid, a promise of structural integrity. You twist it. The latch clicks. Light spills in. Warm, golden light. You realize, with a chilling certainty, that this basement is the locus element, a real-world place connecting to the Viridian Tower's psychic field. The horror is over, for now. The hallway stretches before you, completely familiar. The pattern on the carpet and the peeling wallpaper are exactly as they were when you first arrived hours ago. Chandeliers glow overhead, buzzing faintly, but they are fully lit. The smell of mildew creeps back into your nose. It's sharper now, but somehow, in its familiarity, it's almost comforting. You stumble forward, half-dazed, your mind struggling to reconcile the impossible journey with the mundane reality of the old hotel. Your boots leave damp patches on the carpet. You drag your arm along the wallpaper to steady yourself. At the end of the hall, you see the front desk. The concierge is sitting there. Same slick comb-over. Same bottle-thick glasses. He hasn't moved an inch since you left him. He looks up as you stagger close, his face calm, his lips curling into the faintest, most unsettling of smiles. "Well," he says softly. Your throat locks completely. Bile surges up instead. You double over the counter and vomit, choking, retching until your vision blurs and your chest aches. You're purging the furnace heat, the memory of the bully, the sound of the ringing phones, all of it. The man nods, slow and perfectly patient. "I understand," he says simply. You wipe your mouth on your sleeve, your chest still heaving with the effort. Your entire body trembles uncontrollably. You don't answer him. You don't need to. You simply turn and stagger through the front doors, out into the humid, ordinary night. You know that moment you stepped back into the lobby. You passed the final test. This wasn't a mechanical failure. It was a ritual. Your van is sitting under the flickering sign. VERIDIAN-OWER. The T is buzzing faint now, on the verge of dying completely. You climb in. You peel off your soiled uniform shirt and toss it onto the passenger seat. It slumps there, an empty, sad shape. You grip the steering wheel, staring at the empty highway access road. For a moment, you think about going home, calling dispatch, filing the report under severe electrical malfunction, unable to complete repair, pretending you can simply file this under malfunction, a routine call gone slightly wrong. But then, the thought of the Amish country flickers in your mind. A place without elevators. No cables, no metal boxes that hum and lift you into your own worst fears. A place where the only thing that rises is the sun over the fields. Where you climb wooden ladders to haylofts instead of crawling into humming metal death traps at 3 a.m. You laugh once, a short, dry, gasping sound. I'm moving to Amish country, you mutter, the decision absolute. You turn the key. The van rumbles alive, and you drive. You drive away from the building, away from the smell, away from the fear of the next downward descent. The lights of the Viridian Tower shrink in your rearview mirror, and you press the gas pedal, feeling the rumble of the highway under your tires. A solid, real sensation that slowly begins to anchor you back to reality. You look at the empty passenger seat where your uniform shirt lies. It's a silent reminder that you were there, that you stepped into that machine and came out irrevocably changed. You wonder how long it will take for the smell of smoke and linen dust to leave your skin. You realize your hand still hurts from slamming the close butt repeatedly. A small, tangible bruise on your knuckles. It's an odd fact, but researchers have studied the fight or flight response and found that after extreme stress, the body continues to pump adrenaline for days, leading to jumpiness and lingering terror. You feel that now, a hyper-awareness of every sound your van makes. Was that a brake pad squeal, or the ghost of the motor's death scream? Was that the wind whistling, or the bully's off-key song? You keep checking the rearview mirror, but all you see are the normal, mundane headlights of other travelers. They're driving toward jobs, homes, and appointments, completely oblivious to the fact that there are machines in the world that don't just carry people up and down, but carry them inward. You try to rationalize it one last time. A massive power surge, perhaps. A rare electromagnetic anomaly that caused a form of mass-induced psychosis that only you experienced, being the only one inside the building's magnetic field. It sounds ridiculous, even whispered to the empty air of the cab. You remember the concierge, the way he just knew what you'd seen, the calm acceptance of your vomiting. He didn't ask what was wrong, he said. I understand, like he was the keeper of a terrible secret, a sentinel for a machine that preyed on trauma. You weren't there to fix the elevator. You were there to be its passenger. You were the designated soul for the circuit, the image of the frozen, endless snowscape, and the grinning face of the bully with the axe is the sharpest memory. The fear of recurrence is a powerful psychological tool, and that floor was custom made for your most painful, deepest rooted terror. You were literally running from your past, and it was wielding a deadly weapon. You think about the Amish country again. No elevators, just the wind in the cornfields, the rhythmic clip-clop of a horse-drawn buggy, and the slow, simple rhythm of life that has no need for complex, terrifying vertical transit. You're driving toward simplicity, a place where the mechanism of terror can't follow you. The thought of the linen basement is almost a comfort now. The smell of mildew and old cloth, it was the transition back to the real world, the unwinding of the nightmare, a place of soft, harmless fabric where you were merely buried, not consumed. You can still feel the texture of the dry sheets on your fingertips. You drive for hours, the miles becoming a blur of black asphalt and yellow lines, the engine a steady, mechanical lullaby. You've crossed the state line now, leaving the Ohio Valley and its haunted towers behind you. The terror is slowly receding, replaced by a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that demands sleep. You feel hollowed out, as if the elevator pulled the core of your professional skepticism and left a void of belief in the bizarre. You think about the fragmented warnings you heard in the telephone receiver. Don't step out. 13th. Watch the doors. The 13th floor superstition, the one owners skip because of fear, was a sign, perhaps. This elevator didn't skip the floor, it created it. It manufactured personalized dimensions of dread, tailored to your deepest fears. The children's party, the pure malice of the bully, the impersonal horror of the furnace, each a stop along a journey into your own subconscious. You wonder if anyone else has experienced this. You know about urban legends, the kind of stories that circulate among people who work in old buildings. The ones about elevators that go one floor too high, opening to a hallway that shouldn't exist. You realize that researchers might study these as simple structural oddities, but you know better. You know the machine is an active participant. It decides where you go. It's an eerie, odd fact that the fear of enclosed spaces, claustrophobia, is often linked not to the size of the room, but the absence of control. You didn't fear the small cab, you feared its control over your fate. You pull into a small, nondescript motel as the first hint of gray light begins to appear on the horizon. It's one story, no basement, no elevator, just a simple door leading to the outside world. You turn off the ignition. The silence is profound. You pull your toolbox onto the seat beside you. It's still heavy, still full of wrenches and wire cutters and circuit testers' tools for a world that operates on logic and physics. They feel like relics now, symbols of a life you just barely escaped. You reach into the cab's interior light and check your leg where the toolbox smacked it when you ran from the party. There's a bruise, a real, tender, blue and yellow mark. That's your proof. The bruise is physical. The fear is real. The Viridian Tower, or whatever possessed that old machine, was real. You'll call dispatch later. You'll quit. You'll drive further west, or maybe deeper into the country, and start over. A new life, a new job. Maybe building fence posts. Anything that only requires a horizontal journey. You will never, ever again step willingly into a metal box that is designed to rise. You'll take the stairs. Every single time, you'll choose the stairs and the darkness, because you've seen what happens when the machine chooses for you. You are officially retired from vertical travel. The Viridian Tower is out there, still standing, waiting for the next technician to answer its call. The sun is fully up now. You made it. The light is warm, soft, not the aggressive, fire-tinged glow of the furnace or the sickly neon of the hotel lobby. It's just the sun. You hear the sound of a distant truck on the highway. A normal sound, not the scream of a trapped motor or the clang of an axe. You can let go of the tension now. Let your shoulders drop. You can breathe the clean air. The horror is contained within the story, sealed behind the closed doors of this video. Remember that you are safe, surrounded by the comforting, familiar sounds of your own home. The darkness outside your window is just the night, not the endless abyss of the stairwell. There are no chewing sounds beneath the mechanical hum of your everyday life. Thank you for listening tonight, for stepping into the cab and taking that terrible ride with me. It's always better to face these things together. I hope this gave you the chill you were looking for, but remember that the terror is only what you allow the silence to fill. End of script. Sleep peacefully, if you can. End of script. Sleep peacefully, if you can.